Shalom, family.
Shalom.
We're just going to be broadcasting to you live. I know this is unannounced or what have you, but we decided we were talking about it anyway, so we wanted to broadcast on the current condition of our economy. I know many of you have been hearing the information swirling about the U.S. dollar being literally on its way out, and so we just wanted to have a discussion, a live discussion on this particular topic. Just going to go ahead and share the link to the broadcast on Facebook really quick here. Okay. But yeah, again, this is just a little discussion we're going to be having, because it's very important, I believe, that our people come to terms with what is happening in the economy. And it's not that we're not in the loop. Many of us hear these things, we know of these things, but we tend to ignore these things.
That's right.
That's what we see happening a lot. We ignore.
That's right.
I think sometimes we believe if we just block it out of our minds, we don't hear it, I don't see it, I don't talk about it, that it'll just disappear and won't affect us in any way.
That's right.
That's not the case.
There's some very interesting news that's been popping up. Some very interesting information, should I say, has been popping up on the news, dealing with the dollar. And I know you all been hearing a lot of it. I know it's scary to hear this, It's scary to hear this, but sometimes when we hear these things, it may be warnings to us so that we can slowly prepare for these things or get ready, because once it happens, then it's too late. You know what I mean? It's harder. But now we have an opportunity to say, hey, let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do to try to weather the storm once it comes, because we know it's coming. Yeah. Okay. One of the articles that we had found mentioned, and we actually put the information in the description here, but it says the U.S. dollar rejected worldwide. Vladimir Putin, okay, that's the head of Russia, says the Petro Dollar is dead. It has begun. Yeah. Okay. You have a major world leader that comes and says the Petro Dollar is dead. Okay. U.S. dollar says the U.S. dollar rejected worldwide. Putin says Petro Dollar is dead. It has begun. Last night we listened to Jim Willie, an economist, on Ochelli Effects, and he clearly stated ships are still off of California loaded with goods, and they refuse payment in dollars. Mm-hmm. Now that can get a little scary, I hate to say this, but I remember reading an article one time that there were actually some places in the United States that wouldn't accept the dollar. Yes. Business places. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a little scary there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the rest of the article goes on to say that about 48 hours ago, Putin ordered the gas to be shut off of Europe because he refused to accept the petrodollar as payment, and the euro is backed entirely by the U.S. dollar. Mm-hmm. As you recall, last week, China refused to allow the U.S. carrier group to dock in Hong Kong because all they had to pay for docking fee and fuel was U.S. dollars. There appears to be about 25 countries currently occupied by forces, the United States corporations, that are still accepting the U.S. dollar. The United States dollar is issued by the United States dollar is issued by the Federal Reserve System, and Jim Willie and other economists think that both the IMF and the Federal Reserve System are now controlled by the Chinese now, so they are apparently calling the shots now. Very interesting. There's an article. Good call.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I kind of wish I had to grab one too. Maybe we'll have one of the girls bring me one.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a video in the link description here that you can go check out, and the video talks a little bit about. I'll bring it up here. It's called "Dollar Rejected Worldwide: Putin Kills Petro Dollar," and you can check that out. The link is there. And so it can get kind of a little scary there, you know, when you think about this actually happening. Now, we've been saying that this is going to happen for years now. It hasn't happened yet, but I'd rather prepare for something and not have it happen than to not prepare and have it happen.
Yes, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And so it is coming full circle, family. You know, when you look at this, it's scary. It is, because many of us are just so used to things as they have been. You know, we have this illusion over our heads, thinking that everything's going to continue to be sunshiny and gloomy and full of flowers. But when you start to see major world leaders saying no more dollars, you see, it can be frightening. We heard someone talking the other day, and they were saying that what's going to happen is your bank may on a Friday decide, you know what, we're going to close today for a bank holiday. That's what they call them, bank holidays. And you won't have access to any of your money. And so you have people saying, look, you better go ahead and get your money out and do what you're going to do with it. And we don't want to have people panicking, but we want people to be realistic.
Yeah.
Remember when the Pharaoh had his dream and Joseph gave the interpretation, and that was one of those pre-warnings. Sure was. You see, excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather. I don't want to keep getting up from the table each time I cough.
Someone said you look cute today. You see that? The car looks cute today.
Thank you.
She does.
Told her, yeah. But when you think about the time of Joseph, how he had to come to him for the interpretation of the dream. And that was like the Most High saying, okay, I'm going to give y'all some time to get yourselves together. You know what I mean? And he gave them time. Yeah. They had 7 years of plenty just to prepare for the 7 years of drought. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to duplicate that particular time period, but don't you think it's time that we as a people start to be a little bit more, or should I say a lot more serious about the economy? I know many of us, as we talk to people from day to day, whether it's family or friends or coworkers, you get a sense that they don't know what's going on. That's what I get a sense of. Yeah. You know, you get a sense that people just think that life is good and that there's always going to be some plan that the government has to stop all of the nonsense, you know? Yeah. Well, what happens when it's other world governments saying, look, no, we're tired of the nonsense and we're not going to play this game anymore? What happens then? We can't go to war against all of these other countries. That's right. Well, here's the thing, you know, a lot of times in the United States is like a dream world to most people. You know, it's really like a dream world. Other countries, they look at us, they look at our commercials and see how a lot of us living. A lot of us are living really good when you compare it to some of these third world nations. And so we're really living in a dream world, okay? And the problem is these other nations are experiencing, have already gone into some crazy things happening in their country. You know, people, what happened in Greece, what happened in Egypt and other areas. It's all kinds of stuff happening. We think in the United States, oh, it could never happen to us. But it happened to us once before. And it's always something going down that's happening to the United States that's causing problems from time to time. And trust me, the United States is due. It's really due, you know. So I think that there are a lot of different things we can do to prepare. Now, a lot of people say gold and silver. Well, I say, in all honesty, when I say prepare, I'm thinking that we as a people should we should purchase land. I think that we should start purchasing equipment or whatever it is we need to cultivate that land, whatever we need to raise livestock, buy equipment and things that we need, like fencing in the livestock, raising goats and whatever it is you need on your land. I think that's one thing that we should consider more than anything, because when things go crazy, when this whole system turns belly up,
least you will have something. You know what I'm saying? Or get together with like-minded people. You'd be surprised what even only 5 people can pull together and do. You may be able to find 5 people in your family even that all may be working jobs, and all of you can say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to save $200 a month. I'm willing to save $500 a month for us to come together and buy some land, and let's try to do something. Let's see if we can raise animals on this land or grow crops or whatever. But I think that's what it's coming down to.
And hey, family, we don't have 5, 6, 7, 10 years to start planning for this stuff. We don't have that 7 years that Joseph and them had, because the plan was made a long time ago. The handwriting has been on the wall. So this is not something that we need to just keep on, talking about. We've been growing food here at this house almost immediately when we moved here.
Yeah.
Because when we lived in Belleville, Michigan, we were farming there,
That's more than 10 years. That's 15 years now. We've been doing some type of gardening or farming, yeah.
And what's funny about that, when we were doing it in Belleville, Michigan, we weren't serious about it. It was more like a thing of, this is some old farmland. Let's just grow some food. No big deal. You know what I'm saying? We were still eating junk, still eating pork, still doing all that stuff, but the land was really fertile and it was producing some good food.
Sure was.
So we weren't doing it out of necessity back then. But see, now we understand what time it is. So ever since we moved here, which we've been here since about 10 years, a little bit more than 10 years. We've been growing our own food. And now we decided that we even from here, that this is not enough space for what we want to do. And so we have other land that we've asked the Most High to send us the right people who want to grow food with us, livestock, all of that. And we're asking for the right people because we know you can't do this with everyone. And we feel like it's a direction that we all need to go in. There are a lot of Israelite communities popping up all over the place. And not all of them are on one accord. Not all of them are functioning the way they should. But our whole goal, it has nothing to do with all of this other stuff, all of this political stuff that's going on with some of these camps.
Yeah.
Our thing is this. Look, our families need each other.
Yep.
And we feel that working together is the best way to do things. That's the best and only way to do things at this stage in the game, at this point. So we're asking the Most High to send us the right people to be on the land with us. And even with here, the right people who want to learn what farming is. This was something that we did as a people in our land.
That's right.
Israelites were goat herders and agriculturalists. We understood how to grow food. We weren't going to supermarkets when we were in our land, and the time that we went to Egypt, that was because there was a drought. It wasn't because we didn't know what to do. There was a drought that had taken over everywhere, even Egypt. And so what happened was the Most High had already given it to the Pharaoh that this was going to happen. And so with Egypt, he used one of the children of Israel, which was Joseph, he used him to tell Egypt what to do. Yeah. And so the Israelites were able to go and barter food with them. Yeah. But in this time that we're living in now, it seems like we all believe that there's going to always be a grocery store or Walmart or Kmart or A&P or Myers or whatever store you have in your area, Pick Pack. We all believe that there's always going to be these things, but that is quickly coming to an end. And I think this is a good time to read the second article that we have here. Okay. It says the American dollar is on life support and is almost dead. Let me see if I can increase the size of the screen so I don't have to squint so much. If not, that's okay. I'll just lean in a bit. It says a strong U.S. dollar is generally seen as a good thing for the economy, but there are exceptions. The dollar may look strong right now, but the underlying fundamentals of our economy indicate it should not be. We are deeply in debt, running a huge balance of trade deficit, and are seeing anemic economic growth. These are not the markers of a country with a strong currency. Most experts agree that an artificially strong dollar is actually worse than a weak dollar, exacerbating our already dire economic situation. A naturally strong dollar would be a sign of economic health, something which does not apply to the United States. As it stands, the dollar is only relatively strong because other currencies, such as the euro, are unstable. This is a temporary situation, and once it is resolved, the underlying fundamentals of the economy will bring the dollar back down, and the inflationary pressures created by government actions, such as quantitative easing, will be felt once again. Look around and you'll see the United States is in a bad situation. More and more people are scrounging for the handful of service jobs available because our manufacturing jobs have been sent overseas. Our factories are shutting down or selling out to foreign interests. We are living on borrowed money. The value of our dollar is artificially inflated. This makes imports relatively cheaper compared to American goods, putting even more in our factories putting even more of our factories out of business, exacerbating our already substantial trade deficit problems. Ultimately, the dollar will weaken if we do not fix the fundamentals of our economy. I'm going to stop there. There is no fixing this. I also read something the other day that's they were saying that the U.S. dollar is stronger than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, why are these people lying? I know why they do it. They do this because they know that the majority of the people in this country are victims of the public food system, and they're going to believe whatever their government tells them. Okay. I say victim because not everyone who went to the public food system is a victim. I went to the public food system, but the Most High was able to help me to see reality. So a person is only a victim if they choose to be. If you believe everything these people tell you, then you become a victim because you're not thinking for yourself. And that's one thing the public food system does, is it creates people who can't think for themselves.
Yeah.
And they have to depend on something outside of themselves, such as the government, to think for them. They tell you what to eat. They tell you if you were born a certain way, they say, well, it's natural to be born this way, you know, and thus you have the gay boom. You have all these things going on because the public food system says this is the way things should be. They tell you what to study, which is not necessarily always good for you. You know, don't worry about agriculture. We have stores. You can just go to the store. You don't need to learn agriculture. The government takes care of that for you. We grow food. Don't worry about that. You know, the things that we need to be concerned with, they guide you away from those things.
Yeah.
And they guide you towards nonsense things like, what was George Washington's wife's name? Who cares? That's not education. But you see, when it comes to the U.S. dollar, they don't even teach you any good business sense.
Yeah.
You have to get that outside of the public food system. They don't teach you how to balance your budget. They teach you about debt.
Yeah.
Tell them about the program that the children went to the other day.
This program my kids went to the other day. I had a client that wanted me to do a video for them, and so
to record the event.
To record this event, and so my son went with me to help me out, and the kids, they came too because it was an event dealing with the kids that were basically in high school.
The older kids.
The older kids. So my kids went, and they had this class that talks about kind of like economics, pretty much. And they were teaching the kids, telling the kids about and one thing they said, the most important thing is your credit. You gotta keep your credit, save your credit. They teach your kids how you make your payments on your credit, and how there are organizations that if you can't make your payments, you can get organizations to help you with your payments and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there and I said, wow, it's been years now since we've gotten out of that credit thing. I'm so glad that we're not into that credit thing anymore, because don't you know that's debt? Mm-hmm. Don't you know that it's debt when you owe a house note, a car note, when you owe credit card bills and all this stuff? You already gonna have to pay for lights and gas and other things like that unless you're off the grid. So when you take all of this credit and you could, and I sat there, my kids were listening to it, and I can tell my kids were like we ain't going down that road. You know what I mean? We teach our kids different. We ain't going into the credit thing. We got out that thing, and we don't do that anymore. When it comes to getting anything, you save up for it like the old days. That's how it used to be. You save up for it, you put your money inside, save up for it. That's how you do it, you know, as it relates to buying a home, to buying everything. That's how you got to do it, you know. And I know a lot of people say, well, that's hard. No, it ain't. Let me tell you something. When I look at the amount of money that people make and they throw down the drain from purchasing new vehicles, clothes, jewelry, and just all kinds of things. So I look at a lot of the money that people throw down the drain. You have to look at that money and say, man, what if you were using it for other things? Because you already know when you buy a new car, it's going to depreciate as soon as you drive it off a lot. You know, people buying these expensive cars, they want the best looking cars. Instead of just getting something that'll get you around, they want the best looking vehicles, you know? And I think that's part of the thing that's hurting us. We spend more for shoes and leather outfits than we talking about trillions of dollars being spent on these things, you know? And so if we were to pull back and say, you know what, let's do this a little bit different here, you know? And I know, I know I've been there. I used to be one of them people that were into the style and all of this stuff. My wife would tell you, back in the days, I was into that stuff, you know, wanted the nice vehicle. Most have taught me a valuable lesson over the years. So I've learned my lesson, and I've learned to just, hey, you know, if it was a doggone shame, I'd be driving down the street with a horse buggy if I could, you know. Folks might be, whoa, with the red light, you know, hold on, you know. That's how, yeah, I'm telling you, that's how I'd be going to the store around the corner on the horse, you know, if I could. But, you know, I'm trying to get to the point. I wish, you know, I wish I could knew somebody that knew something about horses.
Yeah, because me, myself, I'm kind of afraid of horses.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid of them too. Not that I think they'll come and bite me or anything.
It's the kicking thing.
Just the kicking thing and them going wild and just, you know, I don't know about no horse, you know.
Yeah, one of someone here in the community was killed by their horse a few years back.
Yeah. They
were standing behind the horse, and the horse kicked them so hard that it killed them. And so that just kind of made me nervous.
Yeah.
Dealing with horses. And plus I feel like if we need meat, we can't eat horses, so I don't want to really waste time and resources on horses.
Yeah.
But I know the travel thing.
We ran a cow down the street, huh? We eat him, huh?
Or come up with some other innovation like human-powered cars.
Yeah, human-powered bikes
like
or whatever things. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, we just want you all to be in tune with the fact that the U.S. dollar is very weak at this stage. Don't believe the hype for those that are saying it's stronger than it's ever been, because I don't know if some of you saw that article or those videos. That's just them trying to deceive the people even more, so that nobody's preparing for anything.
That's right.
Look at what the other countries are saying, okay? Because they are part of this. If they are saying, look, we don't want your dollars anymore, that's a clear indicator that it's on its way out. These people are saying, look, we are a part of the world stage and we are no longer accepting your dollar. So what that says to us here in America, especially us as Israelites, that we need to get out of La La Land. If you can unify with someone, do that, okay? I know some of you are tired of hearing it, as it was in the days of Noah. They didn't want to hear what Noah had to say. They didn't want to talk about it because the day was just too beautiful to even consider the fact that it wasn't going to always be that way. But we want you all to just really consider thinking about what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
We see a lot of different thoughts and ideas going forth here in the chat room. We've been saving seeds for years.
We've been
saving seeds for years.
Save them seeds, put them seeds up, and let me tell you something. I'm telling you, you'd be surprised at how much you can get some land for. There are deals of land popping up all over, and I'm telling you, really consider that. Consider working with people and just doing something. You know, look for people you can work with.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We've had at the event we did discuss some of this, in which we haven't had a chance to upload all of the videos yet, but we've had a chance to discuss some of this with some of those that were at the event. And we look forward to discussing it further, and not just discussing, but making moves in that direction for those who are serious. We're not the only ones who have land. There's others who have land too, who may be in your area. I thank the Most High for Sister Keisha and her family. They actually live in Michigan, and they offer, because they know we're from Michigan and we miss home and everything, they offered that if we didn't do anything in our area, that we can come to some land that they have in Michigan. And so I thank the Most High for that offer.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was really sweet of them. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about people who are saying, look, we have some land, and we're willing to work together with the children of Yah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're offering to those who the Most High puts on our hearts and on our minds, because we have been, like I said, we've been doing this for a long time here at this location, and we're ready to do that at our other location as well, because it's time. It's time. We as a people, we usually fall behind. We usually lag a few years behind everyone else, and we kind of think that there's always going to be time. Now, we understand the whole thing of the Most High delivering his children. We do understand that. But you also have to understand that there is going to be a period where the judgment is going to fall on his children too. You see, this is why the word says, pray that you be counted worthy to escape the things that are coming upon this earth. You see, and we had someone say to us one time, this is where balance and thinking comes in. We had someone say, why are you all telling people to start businesses and do this and do that? The scripture says this captivity is long. He says, buy houses, plant gardens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is what the word says. He didn't tell us to just lay down and die because we know the end is not. You know, he didn't tell us to do that. You know, we can't be fatalistic, and especially if everything that we have is like some form of government assistance. So what happens when they shut it off? Are you saying, okay, I consent to dying now, kill me since you're not going to feed me anymore? You know, we can't think like that. Yeah. We have to do what we can to help ourselves, because we know the system is failing or about to fall. Then we need to prepare ourselves likewise, even if it's a mental preparing, to where we say, look, Father, something's about to happen. I'm not prepared. I need your help. That's what you need to do. These are some of the things that we need to focus on and pray about, meditate on, and seek after. The scripture says, knock and the door shall be open unto you. Seek and ye shall find.
That's right. That's absolutely right. It's something, you know, and you know, I think the Most High for my wife. She's always into the news. Me, I hear it every now and then. I don't dive into it because I get so many other things that I'm fooling with too. And you know, I'll often say that my wife has a penny up here. You know, she can handle a quad penny because I always say that she can handle so many different things going on at the same time like that in her mind. But I have to slow it down a little bit for me. You know, I think that she's always in the news like that, always seeing the things that's coming up, because it helps us to be mindful and watchful. Rebecca, give me a cold water. Okay. And so I think that we need to be mindful of the news. You know, we got to be balanced. Okay, we got to be mindful. We got to say, okay, what can I do? And all I'm saying is this here. Okay, each and every one of us should have long range goals and short range goals. Okay, you should sit down and plan your long range goals first. What do you want to have done in the next year and in the next 5 years? Because we don't know if we're gonna have 5 years, but do your long range goals. Okay, and then you do short range goals to show your steps of getting to those short range goals. I mean, to the long range goals. You know, so the short range goals are like the steps. And so that's what we need to do. We need to plan these goals out, say, okay, I want to have land by next year. What do I need to do to achieve this? Mm-hmm. You know, where am I going to get the land at? What area? Where are the cheapest places to buy land at? Now, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I used to live in Michigan, okay? Back in those days when we lived in Michigan, I probably would have brought a home in Michigan. I think when we first decided to move, we were looking in Michigan. How come we didn't get anything in Michigan?
The cost of living and the
taxes. Mm-hmm. Taxes and the cost of living. Mm-hmm. So you get what I'm saying? The taxes and the cost of living is just way too high. Put some in there then. Okay? All right. The taxes and the cost of living is just way too high to be able to just purchase land anywhere. So you got to be realistic. Look at your money that you're making and say, okay, let me see what I could do. Maybe I have to relocate. You might not be able to find land. If you live in New York, land is extremely expensive. So you got to consider all of that.
Well, I want to address a couple of questions here. Someone says, what if we buy our own land and the government comes and take our land? Well, this is how I see things right now. We can very easily kind of talk ourselves out of doing for ourselves if we have all of the ifs in our minds. And I'm answering this this way for a particular reason. It's a good question, okay? So please don't take offense to how we answer. And I'm saying that because sometimes people misconstrue how we answer things as to think it's an attack, and we're not attacking, okay?
Right.
This is not an attack. I'm just going to address the question. And this is someone who is on the Watchman on the Wall channel. I wouldn't really put myself in that position of asking or concerning myself with that, because wherever you are, whether you're on someone else's land renting or whatever, there's still some chances of...
The government can still do that. If they can do it to private land that you own, they can do it to other land, right?
Or anything could happen. The person who you're renting from could possibly lose their land, so you're still going to be in a situation that's not favorable. And so if there's a concern with a particular area, I would most definitely say do some research on an area before you buy land. Consider how you buy land and how the land is owned. That's a class in and of itself. How to obtain and hold assets. Okay, that's something that our people need to know as well. How to obtain and hold assets to where there are some protections in place for you. But I would not use that particular scenario to not buy land, only because that doesn't put you in a good position still, because even rented land is, being in a rented situation is probably worse than being in a situation where you've bought land someplace.
Let me tell you something. The government literally can seize any land in the United States at will, because they're, we look at the government we're dealing with, right? How do you think they got this land, right? How do you think they got the United States of America?
They seized it.
They seized it and took it from people, right?
Yes.
So they've been doing that for since they got here. Okay. The bottom line is that we still need to prepare, and we still need to try to do something. It kind of remind me of the four lepers, and one of them, they sat there and he said, well, why sit you here and die? Because if we don't do anything, then we are going to be in trouble. Yes. But if we decide to do something, then it's quite possible that we can make a way for ourselves in the future, and we can make a way for ourselves and our family, so that we're not struggling when the time comes. Was there another question?
Well, there's two other questions. Someone said, didn't the Most High feed us manna from heaven? Yes, he did, but there were also times where the children of Israel went hungry. There were many times where they went hungry. They were caught up in droughts, and remember the two women had the boy or the kids, and they said, we'll eat your child one day and the other one the next day or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
And then even during the time of Judith, they were actually dehydrating, because they cut the kings or the military had cut the water sources off from around them. This is a story in the Apocrypha. They stopped the water sources, so they were dehydrating in the desert. So there are things that the Most High will allow to come upon the children of Israel. We must have faith, but we shouldn't be fatalistic in thinking that we don't need to do anything and just sit back and say, well, the Most High is going to send manna from heaven. Okay, I just think it's good to be realistic and to do whatever you can to take care of your family and to prepare for certain things.
That's right. We know for a fact that the Most High always do make a way for his people. He always has made a way for his people. But the Most High have always allowed things to happen to his people too, to teach them some lessons. He's always allowed things to happen to his people, when his people wasn't doing right. So technically, if we are walking upright, he will make a way for us. But think about what we're saying here, right? Remember when Elijah, he prayed for the famine to come in his days, and then the famine came, And after the family came, he didn't know what to do. He had no food and no water prepared. The most I told him where to go to get a little food, had ravens feed him. Now, my point is this here, okay? Okay, if you prepare, you don't have to wait on whatever the ravens bringing you, because I know they probably bringing you things like crickets, and they bringing you things like grasshoppers and worms or whatever. I don't know what they may be bringing you, right? Or you could have some canned goods that you saved up and put aside, you know what I'm saying? You know, or you can wait on the ravens, you know? All I'm trying to say is that I think that we should look at the scenario, look at what's going on, and say, hey, let's at least try to prepare something, because we know that things are going to happen and there's no way out of it.
Yes.
You know, it's going to happen. And so on that note, I think that it kind of reminds me of when it's like when you know that a storm is coming and you choose to sit out on the lawn there and just say, well, you know, I'm gonna just put my umbrella up, and you can go in the house, and all you gotta do is just get up and go in the house. But no, you rather wait for the storm to come and weather the storm with the umbrella. You know, I'd rather be in the house. I'm gonna just keep it real. You know, I don't want to be out in the wilderness when this happens. You know, I know he would keep me if I stayed here in the city. He would watch over my family, whatever. You know, who knows what we'll have to go through. You know. Well, see, but I'd much rather have some land out somewhere and be raising goats and get through it that way.
Well, one thing I like about here is this is more like a small town than a major city, so it won't feel as much.
That's right.
It won't feel as what is the word? I'll just say it won't be as bad as it is in major cities like Detroit and things of that nature. So small towns, I thank the Most High for here, because things have been pretty calm here.
Yeah, that's
right.
But
we do thank the Most High that the country is where we're going to be headed to do what we really wanted to do. And I hate the fact that a bad economy is kind of pushing it and not really just going there because, hey, we want to just be farmers. You know, it seems a lot easier if you can just do this because I just want to be a farmer. But when you feel like you're being forced into it, there's a lot more stress attached to it. But it is what it is, and we must do what we must do.
Somebody said something about going off the grid. The government is stopping that too. Finally, stop that. But see, you got to be very wise when you go off the grid, when you do things. Okay, you just can't. I mean, you got to do things a certain way. Let me share something with you. Okay, you know that when the government, when the things hit the fan, they're gonna be cutting the electric and everything off anyway.
Yes.
Okay. They're gonna be cutting all that stuff, gonna get cut down, right? So if you're already prepared for it when it happens, then there's no one looking you out, no one seeking you out. But when you go and you make an announcement, and you go, yeah, I want y'all to come pull this telephone pole down because I'm going off the grid, and you let people know, and you make it a big thing about it. Of course, everyone's gonna know you off the grid, right? But if you secretly get yourself some, let's say you buy yourself some land somewhere, right? And you got your land, and this is an area where you can build something without, like you got some rural areas, they don't require any type of building restrictions. And you build yourself something, and you get yourself some solar panels and wind turbines and whatever, then who's to know that what you're doing, right? Who knows it? So
yeah, the problem comes in when you're now, some things, when they say off the grid too, so it's the way some people are doing it.
Yeah.
You know, they're saying, look, I'm going in open defiance. You ain't got to go through all of that. If you're gonna
pulling up their guns and stuff, yeah, you come on my land, I'm gonna
out of my cold dead head. You ain't got to do all of that. You know what I'm saying? Just be quiet.
Yeah,
live your life. If you're gonna grow some cabbage and shut up about it.
Yeah, shut up about it.
If you're not gonna be on the electrical grid and you have an alternative, I mean, there are legal ways to do off the grid.
That's right.
That's all I'm saying. Let's just deal with the legal stuff, because when you get to trying to saying and doing too much and you're broadcasting it, that's when you make sure that's when you make them come looking at you. Like there was a family down in Florida, I believe it was, who were in the middle of the city. You see, now
in
if
the
you're
middle
in the
of the
middle of the
city,
city and you're doing this,
you're trying to go off the grid in the middle of the city.
they have regulations.
Yeah.
When you're out in the country, they don't, like for instance, in the city, they don't have they have burn laws where you can't burn rubbish within city limits because it's a highly populated area. But if you live out in the sticks, out in the boonies, and you have only a few neighbors, they don't have such restrictions on burning rubbish.
Let me give you an example of something, right? In a city, you unless it's what New Year's night, you just can't pull your gun out and shoot your gun in the middle of the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we stayed back in Belleville, we were in a rural area. You could pull your gun out in your backyard and shoot at something if you wanted to or whatever. Wasn't nobody gonna say anything because it was rural and people were used to that kind of thing. It's not a big deal. There's no rules saying that if you pull out a gun and you shoot it in a rural area that, you know, you shoot it in the city, you can go to jail for discharging a firearm in the city unless it's the New Year's night. So basically, that's how it is in the city. There are certain rules that you have to abide by.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, yeah, like I said, you know, there's, you know, you can't expect to go off the grid in the middle of the city.
That's right, because there are rules that govern the city. And Carl son, what you said, that's exactly what we're talking about. He said he wishes we can establish Hebrew communities because thou only deals with Gentiles, right? And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the exact same thing. There are Israelite communities in various places, but again, everyone does and teaches and lives a certain way, you know. That's what we're talking about here. We're just trying to show everyone how important that we not only talk about this, but move in that direction. We've been looking for good land deals for a while now, and so we've already made that move in that direction, and we're just waiting for the Most High to send us the right people. And we're saying to our people, land acquisition is something that we should continue to do. You know, don't just stop at one. You know, if you have family land, deal with family land. If you can find good deals, and of course you want to be careful of the area. You want to see if there are restrictions on the land. And we also know that you can't do this with family too. But if you can find a group of Israelites that you can do this with, even if it's only 5 people, let's do it. You see, 10 people, let's do it. But we need to consider land acquisition and now.
Yeah.
We talked about this many times before, where there are people who have money just sitting around, and instead of letting that money just sit, they put it in real estate. They say, look, I got a couple mil over here and there. I'm going to go and buy this 500 acres just to be buying it, you know, because we as a people don't have it like that. We need to unify and do those kind of things. When you do find opportunities, you should go for it. And many times I think we're kind of forecasting wrongly. The scripture tells us that we're supposed to be able to tell and determine the signs of the time, but we're forecasting wrongly. Some of us have it in our minds that, 20 years down the line, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. When I think of 20 years down the line, this is a scary thought to me. I'm hoping that all will be well. Yeah. But the way things are looking, it's looking pretty rough for the world at large. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, it's looking pretty rough. I would hate to see 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. I would definitely hate to see what 10 years from now is going to look like. I'm just going to keep it real. Now, it'd be nice if we got at least 5 years. That would be nice because that gives a lot of us some time to try to prepare some things, to get some things done. But what if we don't have 5 years? What if we only have maybe a couple of years? Then that means in the next couple of years, we better do everything we can. And all I'm saying to you is this here, okay? I'm not saying go out your mind, go crazy. I'm saying don't ignore the warning signs. That's all we're saying, okay? I'm not trying to get you to go crazy and go out your mind. It's just like a friend of mine, you know, Joey. He said he worked so hard over the past few years, just working more than one job. I think he may even have 3 jobs. And why is he working so hard? He said because he wants to be out of debt and he wants to be able to do this land thing and all of this, and he's almost completely done. Now, this is something he started 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago. He started, since I've been talking to him probably about a year now. But from what I gather, this is something that he started, a process he started for more than a year. Okay, and so on that note, this brother's like, he's doing his thing. Not that he's almost paid up on his bills and everything. He's gonna jump out there and do his thing. So he's been planning, you see. And then now, once he gets done with all that, he'll be able to put some money aside now and look into getting land and getting this ball on roll. All we're saying is, now, he sowed some good seeds in doing what he did over the past 2 years. Those are some good seeds, you see, because he had goals. He planned those goals out and he stuck with them. And that's the same with me and my wife. We did the same thing. We planned our goals out. We say, hey, we don't want to be living in full of debt. You know, we don't want to have all this debt. So we started years ago, me and my wife. We started years ago. We said, hey, we ain't going that route no more. You know, we started the thing a long time ago. We planned our goals and we stuck with them until we are where we are now. So all we're saying to you is that make some plans and start trying to do as much as you can to get to those things, because you know eventually this stuff is going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. You got to know it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You know, so.
Someone asks, is there anything we could do on a very small scale just to build confidence right away? Well, I think there is. I mean, you always start small. And the first thing I think is reaching out to those of like minds. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who have already reached out to us, we have held on to your information. Those of you who left your information with us at the event, thank you very much. We will be in touch. Trust me. We just had a couple of other events. The children and my husband did that we were trying to get through. All of these things just kind of pull on your time a bit. And so now that we're going to get back to a somewhat normal schedule for a moment, we hope to have some more time to be able to speak with some of you, those of you who are serious about this. Like we said, we know that there are other Israelite communities, but we're not just trying to do just anything. We have a specific plan in mind that we want to implement for our family in terms of, you know, how we're going to feed ourselves and you know, stuff like that, and how we're going to do just various things, right? And with whom we're going to do that with. And so we just want to keep it real in that regard. We know that some of you are going to still kind of sleep on this a bit, and as that time creeps up on you, it's going to become very apparent and obvious that we don't have no more time to sit and wait. Yeah. That's why we wanted to do this quick broadcast, because the U.S. dollar is on its way out. Yeah. And I think it's a scary thing to be sitting up saving up money and saying, I'm going to put this money up because in 20 years, I want to make sure of this, that, and the other. If you're not putting that up in silver and gold, then what are you really putting up? If you're putting up paper money.
And then where you get the silver and gold, please tell me you ain't got no safe deposit box at the bank or nothing, right? Mm-hmm. Right. If
you're putting up paper
money. If you're saving it at home, then, oh man, you know. So
mm-hmm.
you just got to be careful, you know.
Yes, absolutely. If you're putting up paper money, it's better to go ahead and do what you're going to do with it. You're going to get some land. You're going to go in with people. Yeah. I've been doing various things. I've been looking at different parcels that are in the area where we already have land. And I've been saying, okay, this is a nice piece of land here. If 20, 30 people were to put in X amount of dollars each, it's a small amount when you have a number of people doing it each. You know, each putting in this amount, then the burden is not so heavy on one person to come up with all of this money, because we don't believe in debt. I'm just be honest with you. We don't believe in debt at all. At all. We did that before. We don't like that. We don't like the way it feels. And that's not something that we would advise anyone. Don't try to go into debt doing this, okay? Because as long as there is some type of mortgage note or loan attached to that property, it's bad enough you have taxes in some case, but you can definitely you can definitely bank on losing things if you don't have the money to pay back that mortgage or that debt. So we really. Someone asked, "Are we believers in LJC?" No, we are. We believe in the Messiah, but we don't believe in that name.
Yeah, we believe in the Messiah. We believe in the Ruach HaKodesh, which is what Christians refer to as a Holy Spirit. We call it the set-apart spirit. We just get away from all the Christian stuff that came from Christianity. You know, Jesus Christ is all the Christian stuff. The name, the title, all of that stuff is from Christianity. So we don't do none of that. You know, he was never called. The Messiah was never called JC, you know, and he was never the look of this Caucasian that you see posing as JC. So,
but yeah, we want you to hang around and just listen to what we're saying here.
Watch White It Out. You apparently haven't seen White It Out. Go watch White It Out on our channel. It'll explain a lot of things of what we believe.
Yes. Yeah, we want you to hang out and listen to what we're saying here, but we just decided not to use the pagan names. There was no letter J until a few hundred years ago.
That's right.
So that's definitely not the name. We're not denying the Messiah. We just don't use that name. But anyway, to continue back with what we're talking about, the land acquisition and people unifying and all of that other stuff.
Yeah,
that's what we're trying to focus on right now. I know a lot of times through Christianity, we were taught to not really think about tomorrow.
You know why? Because Christianity tells you that you're going to get the rapture. It's going to catch you up, and you're going to escape all these things to the rapture. So as long as you're a good Christian, you're going to be caught away. That's really a lie. You know, I do believe that there is a catching away, but it ain't going to be a bunch of Christians. It's going to get caught away. Yeah. It ain't going to be no Christians. You know, it's going to be people who are in the truth, that know the truth, they're filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. Yes. That's what I believe.
Yes. And so, but we didn't want to hold you up too long. It's like a little bit after 10 here.
Yeah. We went actually longer than I thought we would. I think we've been on there an hour now, haven't we?
I'm not quite sure when we started, but we just kind of wanted to put some information out there in your minds. I'm sure many of you already know and are aware that the dollar is on its way out. Yeah. But these videos are more so for those who are not aware. We talk to people in our own families, and which I'm sure many of you do as well. We talk to people in our own families who just don't believe this stuff. They just don't believe that the dollar is weak and that the economy is about to implode. And
I remember I told a guy that we had working with us one time, I told him, I said, you know, the dollar's going to crash. He said, what, the dollar? Never. There's no way the dollar's going to be. You tell me my money that I got in my wallet is going to be worthless. I said, yeah, one day it's going to be worthless. He's like, no, I can't see that. I said, wow. You see how much confidence we got in the system? Wow, we got a lot of confidence in the system.
Yeah, people do. And we're just trying to say, look, have confidence in the Most High.
Yeah.
Okay, put your faith and trust in Him, and try your best to look at the signs that the Most High has shown us. His word told us that we should be able to decipher the times. So just keep that in mind as you go on about your day, about your week. Don't take this stuff lightly. Do whatever it is you can. The handwriting is definitely on the wall.
That's right.
And so I think we will call this to a close.
I think so.
With that, we're going to say shalom, family.
Shalom.